We're doing getting to the close. So you've been working on building up, sorry, clientele, meeting with them, looking at houses, getting your house under contract. So this is from the contract point, you're under contract, to getting it to the closing point. So, and everything that happens in between that period. So I know there's a couple who's had closings already. Chris? So, okay. So everybody else, this is kind of a new timeline for you. So you're almost there, right? Did you under? Yes. Woohoo! Congrats. Nice. That's awesome. Different referral, but yes, nice. Congrats. Yeah.
Can I just start off with a question?
Sure.
Still a little foggy in my mind. Maybe you would. What's the settlement?
Settlement is when you sign all the paperwork. So everybody signs, and then closing is when it actually, like a seller, like if you're buying my house, your mortgage has to pay off my mortgage. And so they transfer that, and then they transfer title, and then that's considered close at that point.
They happen 2 different times?
Usually, yeah. So usually you sign, and then within usually 24 hours, it will fund and report. Yep. Yes. Yes. Yep. Paperwork is the settlement part, and money part is the closing. So, and it can be, closing can actually be up to 4 days sometimes if like your seller signs it one time and maybe your buyer doesn't sign until later or a different day, or your seller's a different day, then it can actually go out to a 4-day period. So, but
I've had houses that I've sold, like, sign on Friday and then on Monday.
yeah,
And
so
then the signing part of it, that can be done, like buyer can do it separately from the seller, right?
correct.
You do it differently.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to go and.
No.
Yeah, usually, yeah, usually don't want your sellers and buyers are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they may have different title offices. So your buyer might be signing at one title company, and your seller might be signing at a different title company. So the title companies are going to coordinate, and they're going to transfer. Yes, yeah, your buyers or sellers can be out of state. A lot of times you'll run into, they'll be on vacation when it happens. And so then you have to coordinate with the title company. They'll get their documents either overnight them to them. Sometimes they can do digital signatures and stuff. So you coordinate that with the title company, and then they'll coordinate the transfer of funds and all of the signing documents and stuff that way. You might have, and this is actually a great question because it kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about. So you might run into an instance where maybe a family member has passed away, and you're dealing with, you know, a trustee or somebody who's signing for them. So at that point, that's one of the documents you're going to have to help the title company coordinate and get, you know, that they have the authorization to be signing for that closing, either on the buyer side or on the seller side. If it's an investor, you're going to have the same type thing. You might have LLC documents, and you need to have verification that they can sign for that particular property and stuff. So, and the title company will collect a lot of that, but you're going to have to help them get all of that documentation, or the people, emails, phone numbers that they need to talk to get that documentation. So, or if it's a business entity, for example, I'm selling a church right now, and we have to get all of the signatures and stuff in the, you know, and that they are authorized to sign on that transaction. So that's actually one of the things that we'll be talking about today too, is that. So yeah, good question. Any other questions off the top of your head? Anything you want to, and we'll go over, and you can ask questions during and stuff, but if there's anything that you can think of now that you want to make sure that we cover, or that's on your mind, we can jot it down and make sure that we cover it. So, all right, silence is golden. We'll go. And maybe we'll go. Okay, so on your form, again, you've just been working down the list of like meeting people, getting people, negotiating. Now we're to the close part. So we're to the fun part. So at this point, you're like, yes, I'm going to get paid, but you might not. So that's the scary part. Like you may not actually make it to closing still. So that's what we're going to talk about today is some of the things that might pop up that might derail you. It might offset your timelines, or you might have to start all over again. So, and we're going to work on avoiding those. So risk management and see if we can avoid some of those things that might happen, because some of them we can by communicating with other people. In the transaction on an easy one, you usually have 8 to 10 people that you have to coordinate with. And that would be the agent on the other side, the sellers on the other side. If you represent the buyer, you're going to have your clients, you're going to have your title company, they're going to have their title company, you're going to have a lender, you're going to have an appraisal, an inspection, all of that stuff, and you're coordinating all of these people. So for your first 4 transactions in the productivity program, Jeanette's going to help you with that process. And then there may be other people that will pop into that you need as well. If you do an inspection and the roof leaks, then you're going to want to get a bid for the roofing, or stuff like that can pop up. You might want to do a sewer scope if it's an old house and there's a lot of trees. Make sure that the sewer line is clean before they purchase the house. So there's a lot of people that come down the pipeline that you're going to be working with. So real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's a strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. And you thought you were done at this point, right? You were like, yes, I got him under contract. I'm free. So our timelines, we're going to map them out on here. So we're going to have under contract to close. It says that you guys should have kind of a contract that you've been working with. I don't know if you do or not, like paperwork. So we're going to go on, just plot out the different timelines. Off the top of your head, do you guys know any that will show up? If you're working, let's start with the buyer. If you're working with a buyer, any timelines that pop up that you know about for sure, that you've heard about? Appraisal? I can't write very well, for the record. I have a torn tendon, and of course I didn't wear my thing, right? Any other? Yeah, earnest money. Find out and see. Those are usually kind of the main ones. And then we'll have, like we talked about, the settlement. So those are kind of our key main ones. And again, we're going to start kind of the buyer direction. So on these, do you guys remember when your earnest money is due? 4 days after acceptance. Yeah, 4 days after acceptance. We take earnest money here at our company. So we hold it. Some companies will give it to their title company. Their title company holds it, or their brokerage will hold it. So we do it here at our title. Yeah.
I can't remember that. I can't accept like a certain fund from the buyer's office.
We can't accept cash. Yeah, so cash is one that we don't accept. And even at closing, Like buyers can't bring cash to closing, so it has to be like a recorded. Two. Yep, KW Westfield. If it's a if it's a check, it has to be made out to KW Westfield, definitely not yourself. So they can do money orders, they can wire, a lot of them just wire over. We have the Earnest system, which makes it really, really easy for them. You can pick up a check and bring it in for your clients. You can have your clients drop it off and stuff, but that's the first your earnest money. Yes, real money. Has to be real money. Yeah, like Bitcoin and stuff, right? Like, yes, yeah. And hopefully at this point too, you've prepped them. So as you're working with them and you're looking at homes, your very, very first conversation, when they're even contemplating buying, you're going to go over that they need to have earnest money to put down on the home. So it won't be a surprise to them at this point when you say, hey, we need $2,000 or $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is that you've put down for earnest money, that it's not a surprise to them at that point that that's coming. So your very, very first conversation as you're talking to them about buying is that they're going to need earnest money.
What's a good amount?
A lot of people do 1% of the purchase price, kind of a guideline. It depends, you know, on stuff. I've gotten away with 500 a lot of times on stuff. Just kind of depends what you know. Of course, if you're on the selling side, you want a little bit more. If possible, if you're on the buyer side, you want a little bit less if possible. If you hit your deadlines, generally, the way you write your contract up, your earnest money is refundable if it's done prior to your deadlines. If you wrote it up that it's not refundable, which is probably a whole nother class, then it wouldn't be refundable at those points. But it is refundable up to those points on regular way that we write it up. Yes. Yes. Yep. In the reps, you're going to see it on there if it is or isn't, and those dates are going to be lined out. And you're going to want to make sure that you hit those dates. So have them wrote out, have them on a board in front of you. Your transaction coordinator is going to check them. Have them on your phone, a reminder, like everywhere. It does go fast, yeah. And you get busy with things, and it does go really fast. You don't want to miss those dates. You miss the dates, your buyers lose their money, and you don't want that. Yes. Yep. All of these things have deadline dates. So your earnest money is clearly spelled out. You have to have that. You do have to send documentation to the seller that you've received it, because they're going to want it. You send documentation, title company that you have it. So that's where documentation goes out. If you're representing a seller, you're going to let your seller know, hey, we did receive their earnest money today. They are moving forward with the purchase. So communicating is another key part. So communicating to your buyers and seller is going to make this whole system go smoother. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, Jeanette will do that. Yes, yeah. Jeanette does awesome. Yes, yes. Yes. Yep, she's a transaction coordinator. Yeah. Yeah, she's awesome. So if you have a transaction coordinator on the recording, in case you didn't hear it, the transaction coordinator will let the listing agent know that you've received the earnest money. If you're doing your own paperwork, you need to do that. So you need to let them know, because if they don't get notification that they've received it, they can actually cancel the contract because you don't have it in by your deadline. And then you'd be explaining to your buyers why you're now not under contract and somebody else is under contract on the house that they thought they were buying. So, and that's not a conversation you want to have either. So, no, you don't. You might not have them as a client for very long. So you want to make sure that you have that. You communicate it, you know, to the other side. So This one we were kind of brainstorming, like we already did. We've kind of jumped ahead a couple, but whatever. So just brainstorming the different people that are involved in the transaction. So a lot of times too, the selling agent might be a transaction coordinator. And so you're going to want to make sure that you has their transaction coordinator's phone number. That's the perfect scenario because your transaction coordinator and you're free to keep doing what you should be doing and stuff. So, and they're going to get everything to the title company. Sometimes the seller's title company will reach out to you and want to know who your title company is and all of that type stuff. But if you're using a transaction coordinator, they usually handle all of that part. On that, so the appraiser and the lender, your buyers are already going to be working with a lender. So they're already going to be pre-qualified. You're going to have that information. When you go under contract, you're going to send that contract to their lender. So that's part of your responsibility, or your transaction coordinator's responsibility. That contract goes to the lender. The lender then starts their process of getting the loan done. And then the lender is going to hire the appraiser. So that goes through the lending side. They're going to send out an appraiser. They'll notify you, though, that the appraiser is going to go out. And sometimes they notify the selling agent. So ask your lender, you know, did you already notify the selling agent or do I need to notify the selling agent? Some appraisers actually notify them on their own. So they will actually schedule the appointment on their own. So if the appraiser calls you, make sure you ask them, are you scheduling it? Do you want me to schedule it? And then you coordinate with the selling agent and let them know that, hey, the appraiser's coming out. And then you can make sure that they can get into the house, because if you haven't, they may not be able to get into the house to get the appraisal done. And then you're going to have issues. Yes. Yep. They schedule it. So again, sometimes they'll schedule it with you, and then you let the selling agent know, hey, they're coming out on this day. So then they can, but they can access the house themselves. So yeah, they don't want you there. And some of them will just jump on and schedule it themselves through with the super key. So, but I always like to let the selling agent know, again, it's that communication, right? And then you let your buyer know, hey, your appraiser is going out on this day. It's going to be up to a week before we hear back and stuff. So then they know, hey, stuff is moving forward, right? So our key through all of this, again, is just communication. So we've got your earnest money. Our next step is we're going to look at the due diligence, which is the seller's disclosures. So the seller has generally 4 days. I usually put down 4 days from the day it goes under contract. I want these documents. These documents can be HOA documents. So if you're purchasing a townhouse or a condo, you're going to get all the HOA documents, like the rules, the regulations, any upcoming repairs that are due. You're going to get the minutes for their last meeting. So in that last meeting, are they talking about filling in the pool? You know, if your guys are buying the place because it has a pool and they're talking about filling in the pool, your buyer's going to want to know that, right? That's part of the due diligence, is you're going to get all the HOA documents. You're going to send them over to the buyer. So let them know you're going to get a review all of the documents prior to. You're going to get a budget. So you're going to be able to see if they have extra money, if they're spending their money, or if they're not spending their money. And then if you have, let's say, a buyer who's buying an investment property, they're through the HOA documents and make sure $20,000. But it was last year. I don't know if it changed, but that's what it was last year. It was $20,000. Yeah, you have to live there a year. Yeah. They, a lot of times people feel like if you have a lot of rentals, yeah, a lot of risk, the values go down in a neighborhood. People don't take care of it like owner occupied, so they want more owner occupied. Yes. 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 Yep, exactly. Yes, yes. So if you're listing a home, if you didn't hear Chris, when you talk to your seller, find out, like you're going to get all those documents and this seller is going to help you get those documents. So when you list it, let them know, I need your HOA documents, I need your HOA minutes, I need the HOA budget, I need all of your HOA stuff, and they can get it for you. Review it, ask them ahead of time, hey, do you know, can you rent the property? Some units will allow up to 30% rentals. Some will allow up to 15% rentals. So if they're full, somebody can't rent, right? A lot up by University of Utah, they have an amount and there's a waiting list. So if I buy something up there, I can rent it, but only when my name comes up on the rental pool. So there's stuff that you want to find out. And as a listing agent, find out up front so you can put it on the MLS, because otherwise your phone's going to ring and it's going to ring and it's going to ring and people are going to ask you that question and you're going to be like, Susie told me to find out. I didn't. It's going to save you a lot of headache. Plus, like Chris said, if somebody puts an offer on it and their intention is to rent and then they find out they can't, they're going to back out. And you might be, at this point, you've been off the market for 2 weeks. You might have turned down 2 other offers because this offer was a better offer. And now you're going back on the market. You've been under contract and out. So buyer's agents are going to look at it and be like, oh, what's wrong with that place? Right? Something's wrong. Something happened. When it was something that could have been addressed before it ever went under contract. Right? So those are things that you're going to want to check and make sure that you have before. Again, to protect your timeline and actually get to a closing, right? So those are things that you can do up front so you can actually get to the closing stage, which is what you want. On a single family house, you're just going to have seller's disclosures. They, don't have HOA documents, stuff like that. As a seller, again, we're jumping ahead, but as a seller, you're going to have to get that to the buyer on your timeline. So if your timeline is 4 days, you're going to have it. So you're going to have your seller fill these out prior to listing the home. So you're not waiting for your seller who's like, well, I have soccer practice, I'm out of town, I can't get them over to you. Because if they don't sell, they don't send them over by your deadline, they're out of contract. So then you can cancel if you want to. Technically, you could go lawsuit route, all that type of stuff. So have your sellers fill that information out before so you as an agent can get it to the buyer's agent in a timely fashion. And be a good agent. Be a good agent, people. Smart agent.
Take a long time, so depending on like what you know about the house, there's, I don't know how many
Pages,
like,
yeah, pages and pages. Yes.
That's why I guess.
Yes. Nope. Yep.
I think if you use one person that in real estate, a transaction would 100%.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
And so if I'm talking to somebody,
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. Or a productivity coach. Yeah. That's what they're there for specifically, is to step you through what your next step is. And they're just going to go through step by step. So as a seller, you're going to get all of this information filled out. have your sellers fill it out too. So a lot of sellers are hesitant to fill out anything. You know, they're like, oh, well, we did have a little flood. The hose was left in the, what are those, window wells? And it flooded, right? And they're hesitant to put it down. Tell them to put everything down. Like, put everything down. The buyer reviews it. So then they know what's happened on the house, and then they can move forward. So they sign off. Yeah, the neighbors are going to tell them anyway. And then it's like, well, they lied, right? Yeah, yeah. And you don't want to be a liar, right? And then,
30 days under contract, go back.
yeah, it's not fun. So, and then again, if there's something lawsuit wise, so they're like, hey, they didn't tell us, we found black mold, now I'm suing you, and I want you to pay for all of this stuff, right? If you put it on there, just have them put it on. And it's weird, like when I get seller disclosures from my clients and somebody's lived in the house for 20 years and there's nothing wrote down, you know that's not right, right? Like a house is a house, and a house has things that happen, right? You're gonna have little floods, you're gonna have shingles blow off the roof and stuff. So just have them put everything down, because then your buyers can review it. Make sure that your buyers review anything. If the buyers have any questions, so as you're giving them these, let them know. If you have any questions on anything that's on here, let me know. If they have a question like, hey, when did you replace the roof? Then you call the selling agent and say, hey, my buyer has a question. Can you find out when they replaced the roof? Simple communication, right? You find out, you let your buyer know, they're happy, they move forward and stuff. So just communicate any questions. If they have any documentation, you know, that they might have or they might want, during that point, then you can get it for them. So, any questions? Yep, front end. Yes, yep. So then our next would be inspection. So I like to put out on, and this is just me, everybody has their own deadlines. For me, I do 4 days. If I'm representing a buyer, I want to see the documents from the seller within 4 days. That gives us time. I usually put 14 days for my inspections, because I can get an inspector out to look at the house within 14 days. I have this done already. You know, we've already received this. They can review it, and then we still have that information before this time. You're going to give them 3 different names, preferably for an inspector. They're going to pick who they want to do the inspection. They're going to get on the website. They're going to pick what inspection report they want. Do they want a full one? Do they want infrared cameras? Do they want a sewer scope? Do they want a mold test? Do they want termite inspection? If you're doing a VA, they'll require a termite inspection and stuff. So they have different guidelines, but on a regular inspection, you let them pick what they want, a meth test, all of that type stuff. So they're going to pick it, they're going to order it, make sure they let you know what day they've selected. Or you can even coordinate to make sure that you're available that day and time, so you can go. The inspector will go out, usually it takes them about 3 hours to go through a house. So they go out by themselves. You'll have clients ask you, hey, can I go out with them? The answer is no. You meet the inspector after. So the inspector will finish, he allows a half hour that you can meet him. And then he goes over the whole report. They can ask him any questions they have, any concerns they have, all at that point. I usually go with, like, my clients will go and then I meet them there too. Just because I want to hear specifically what the inspector says. You probably know some people who take things with a grain of salt and nothing bothers them. You also probably know other people who hear, hey, make sure that you clean the gutters so they don't leak, and suddenly the roof is leaking, right? And the roof really isn't leaking. It's just a preventative measure, good housekeeping to do. So I always go just because I want to make sure to hear what the inspector actually says. And that helps because if the buyer gets super nervous, if there's somebody who is maybe a little more nervous about things, I want to be able to help alleviate those fears, right? Hey, it's just preventative measures. Make sure you caulk your windows, make sure you take care of your rain gutters, make sure you drain pipe out to the lawn. Like those type things are just preventative measures. And I want to make sure to settle them down because if they hit this part and you have an inspector, and there are some inspectors who are a little more on the doom and gloom side, and they can scare your buyer, right? They can scare them and your buyer will actually back out. And then you're starting back over here again. So you don't want that. So you want to make sure that you hear what the inspector says, so you can help alleviate fears. Or if they're like, hey, the roof might need to be done in 5 years, let them know, hey, I have a roofer. Let's talk to a roofer. We can actually have them come out and take a look at it and see if it does need to be repaired or what that would look like and cost-wise what that would look like. Because again, they're thinking, $30,000 and it's just a $500 repair. You want to make sure that you help them figure that out. Because again, if it's 30, they might back out. If it's 500 and we can get the seller to pay for that, they're back in and they're happy because you've taken care of them, right? You've helped them find a solution for a problem. So I always like to go, totally up to you. I recommend going though, just so you can hear. They're also going to send them a report that going through the inspection.
Just, would they get the report?
Yes, yes.
Take a lot of,
Yeah, it can be a lot of hand holding.
and some of the inspectors' fears were not asked,
Yes,
so I mean,
yes.
they might recommend it.
Yeah.
Like, but for some very
Was kind of. Yes, yeah. I had, and some of them are, I had one, I was driving to the inspection and there was a big wreck on the freeway and I was stuck and I didn't make it, but the inspector called me. He's like, are you people coming? I said, yeah, they're coming. And he's like, the roof, they just need to watch it because this, and this. And by the end of his 5-minute conversation, he's telling me, well, it's leaking. I'm like, wait, you told me it's not leaking. Well, it's not, but it can. I'm like, but it's not, right? No, it's not, but it can, and they need to. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm stuck on the freeway. And now I'm like, I know what you're going to tell him, and that's not. Oh no.
crack in the skin.
Oh,
That stuff goes.
yeah, that's a big difference. That's a big difference between.
My husband, fortunately, oh, some guy wiped the coffee from his finger on that.
That's all it was. Oh my gosh.
Stuff.
Yeah, I think my personal recommendation is be there. Again, so you can hear what it is, and like that, you can see stuff because as you do more and more, you're going to see more and more, and you're going to know like that, oh, it's just this. Yes, they write everything down. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah, they write everything down. Yep, they're going to write everything down. They do pictures. Some of them do videos. If they do the infrared, I like the infrared because they can look behind walls. They can look under and see different color variations. So if something is currently leaking or just has been in the past. So yeah, radon checks, all of that stuff they do. And then they report it all. You can call them back at any time, ask questions. Your buyers can call them back anytime, ask questions. And then again, you can start coordinating any sort of repairs or repair bids or alleviate any questions like that. We have a preferred vendor list here in the office. So if you don't know a plumber, we have a list, right? We have an electrician, we have carpet cleaners, we have contractors, all of those things. So if you don't know anybody yet, it's totally fine. We have a list of people. So, and then they're going to go over inspection items and kind of move forward from there. I always prep them also for the inspection. So the inspection is not for looking for cosmetic items. Again, it's a house, a house is a house. The house is going to have cosmetic items. We're looking for safety issues or major problems, right? I had one house, they found a cracked trellis in the roof. That's a major problem, right? That's what we're looking for, is something that's going to create issues down the road. We're not looking for burnt out light bulbs. We're not looking for, you know, stuff like that fix a light bulb, right? So we're looking, so prep them before you go, that the reason you're doing it is looking for safety issues or major problems that might affect why you purchased the house. Any other, like, due diligence, can you think of anything else besides the inspection that somebody might want to do prior to due diligence? A buyer. And maybe schools that their kids will be attending, right? Yeah, the area itself. Some people might ask you safety or crime statistics. We can't answer those. Oh, right, you can't answer. You can't answer those. You can send them to a website to find out, or you can have them call the police department or whatever and find out. What's that?
It was a list that incorrect. I have
Oh.
found out different that, but I couldn't share what I found with my buyers. They had something to do with redeem.
Oh, yeah.
That just seems weird. Like, if I already found out, why can't I tell them when I found
Yes.
out?
Yes, I think, yeah. And that, like, with the zoning questions, so people are going to ask, especially ADU units are huge right now. You know, everybody wants to rent out their basement or rent out above the garage space, stuff like that. So have your clients call the city.
Oh, too. We did get
Answers, that happens.
but they were still answers that made
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that I could share that.
yeah,
So I guess that goes with crime, school, whatever.
yes.
Direct
Yep, drag them to the site because they may have different questions that you don't ask, right? And then they're going to be like, well, you told me. Or they might misinterpret what you tell them, right? So then you're on the hook. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, kind of both. So maybe maybe the city tells me, no, they can't rent, but I want the sale. And then they can't rent, right? But, you know, and so it can be illegal or not illegal. It can be a legal situation and stuff. So, and they may have additional questions, you know, in talking to that city official, they might find out something else that they need to do to make renting possible. And maybe they're like, well, I don't want to do that, or it's too much trouble to do that, or that's not where I want to go with that specific property. So then they find out the information that they need. They know, you know, you're not hiding anything, you're not changing anything. You didn't forget to ask a question that they wanted asked, you know, and stuff. So
conversation with buyers.
yes, yes. I would, you're going to know talking to them kind of up front, if they start asking you right off about schools or different stuff like that, you're going to want to be like, hey, find out the specific boundaries for that school because it's important to you. And I want to make sure that I help you find the right house in the right area, but you need to find the boundaries for it, right? If they have any questions about like pedophiles that might live in the area, they need to do that research to make sure that they feel comfortable because they're buying the house and living there. If it's zoning questions, if they want to rent the property, if they want to do anything like that, they need to find out what those requirements are. You also, like a lot of houses, you need to register with the city to get that done and to be able to do that. You need to get a business license. If you're a seller and you have, let's say, an apartment style or something, and maybe you're not using it as an apartment, but you know somebody might want to, right? You're in an area, somebody might want to. It would pay to have your seller contact the city and get approval to rent it. So, and they can sign off that, hey, I myself am not renting it, but the city can sign off that, yes, it qualifies as an ADU unit. And then you can actually advertise it that it is city approved as an ADU unit. The buyer, when they purchase, will have to get city approval, all that stuff, but. It can, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Yes. If you list something inaccurately, you can be held responsible, even though you may or may not have known all of the information, but you can be held responsible. So if it's something that you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I might want to just verify that, you can call and verify that, you know, and stuff, and make sure. Or if you're sitting with a seller and they tell you, hey, our roof blew off and we repaired it, you know, last year, and then you get this, you get their due diligence forms and it doesn't have that on there, have them write it on there. Have them be like, hey, you told me your roof blew off last year and you repaired it. I don't see it on your disclosures. We need to have that on your disclosures, and have them put that on their disclosures. Or if they had a flood and they had it you know, had a company come in and remediate and stuff, make sure that that's on there because you know it. Like, you know that happened. And if you move forward without having that on there, then you're in trouble. And you don't want to be in trouble. You want to be a good agent. This is a stay out of jail class. It wasn't, but it is.
What are, okay,
Yeah.
for example, how long is that time frame?
Close on the house over here.
It can be, I sold the property and 6 years later, I had a call from the owner. And originally there was a property line dispute. And so they were, you know, like, hey, do you know this? Do you know this? Do you have your documents? Do you have your, and it was 6 years later. So there's no telling, you know. Yeah, yeah, and you never know with people, you know, there's a lot of, you know, we're a litigious society. And if people, you know, certain things happen and stuff, so.
Stigmatized property. So then if somebody commits suicide or steal property, that's something we must disclose, or is that
If you know, yes. So if somebody was murdered, again, they're going to talk to the neighbors. Don't ask. Yeah. If you know, definitely disclose it, right? And you never know. Like I saw one listing that they had a sign writer, haunted house, right? And there's people who might want to buy a haunted house. Like, you know, you never know. Lucas? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. that,
Method,
yeah, remediated.
but you have to have
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So if in doubt or any questions, definitely ask the broker, say, hey, I had this situation. Should we disclose it? Do we need to do anything additional, and stuff? And then that way you make sure that and that way you protect your client too, right? You want to make sure that your client's filling out all of the proper stuff. Can your buyer back out if there's not a bus station close by?
Not if they didn't put it in the contract.
They actually can. If it's before due diligence, yeah, they can back out for any reason. If a bus stop is super important to them, they can back out based on that. So before due diligence, yeah, yes. Yes, so before due diligence. So anything that's important to them, try to get them to research prior,
But they also back out with inspection.
Yeah, after inspection, they would lose. Yeah, after your,
No, they get to earn earnest money back if they back out with
before the due diligence inspection deadline.
inspection.
Yes, yes.
They can still get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not, no. You can negotiate though. Usually you try to negotiate up front. So if the appraisal comes back low, then you let the selling agent know, hey, we have our appraisal, it came back low. The buyer would like to know, we want you to drop the price to the appraised price. Usually, especially if it's close numbers, they'll do it. FHA, like your appraisal goes with it. So if they do a new appraisal, they'll still get the old one and stuff. So, yeah, if they do it before, yeah, because it didn't appraise for what you offered for. But usually, as long as it's close, you can get the earnest money back. So, and again, depending on the season. So a couple of years ago, when everything was crazy, the seller would probably tell you, nope, I have 5 other people waiting. They're going to overpay for the house. and they're happy doing it. So in that instance, they might not. In a market where it's a little bit harder to get a buyer, they would, you have that conversation and you negotiate that in. So, and then they can drop the price. The seller also has the option at that point to be like, hey, you have 200,000 you're putting down, use 8,000 of your 200, right? So they can say no, and they can go back on the market. So again, that's one of the things you're going to try to negotiate to keep the deal moving forward, right? I mean, I've been successful so far with all of mine that have happened that we've come to an agreement. It's always 50-50. Some people will be like, yeah, let's get it moved forward. Or maybe they say, hey, you pay an extra, like if it's 8,000 you pay for, or we'll pay for, right? So you just kind of negotiate it out at that point too. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and depending on the situation, if seller's already moved out of their house and they're already living in another house, making a mortgage payment, they're going to be more motivated to like, yeah, let's just keep moving forward. I don't like it. Not what I want to do. I'm going to be grumpy about it, but yeah, let's get it done, right? And they're gonna move forward. So you kind of look at the whole situation and what's happening. And that's another reason right off the very beginning, you want to call and talk to the selling agent and build rapport, find out what the situation is, find out as much as you can about the seller. Are they moving? Are they getting divorced? Kind of what their situation is. So if something comes up, you can negotiate and keep that deal moving forward. If it's somebody that has absolutely no money whatsoever, and maybe you need a roof repair, you can say, hey, I have a roofer. I want your seller to pay for it, but my roofer is willing to get paid at closing when you actually get some money. right? Then that's where your negotiation skills are going to come in. So if you have something that pops up in inspection and you want to talk about it, that's where you talk to the productivity coach. Like, hey, I have this situation. What should I do? You can ask Jeanette. Jeanette's been through a lot of them too. Ask another agent, what would you do, right? And we've all been in situations, and then we could be like, oh, tell me a little about the seller. And we're going to ask you that, like, what's a seller situation, right? It would. That would be a good one. We should have that one. Yes, yes. So, yeah. So those are things that the more you know about, if you represent the seller, the more you know about the buyer, or the more you know about the seller, if you represent the buyer, it helps you with those negotiations, right? Because you want to try to make it a win-win for both parties. And, in that instance, if the seller doesn't have a lot of money, but they still want to get to the close, you want to get your buyer to the close, then you get creative and you figure out ways to make it work. So, and a lot of that's just, again, that communication. Like, don't just send a text to the selling agent. Don't just actually talk to them, right? They're in this with you to get it to the close. And that's where you want to go is to the close. Let me see how far ahead we are on our things. We're way ahead. So kind of this, we'll just try and go over these two. What's the first thing my buyer needs, right? So talking to them before you even take them out and getting houses, you're going to find out their needs, right? Their desires, like what schools are important. Is a bus stop important? Is tracks important? Maybe they don't have a car, maybe they need. And so all of those houses and stuff, you're going to want to make sure that you help them. Because again, if you get to this point, or even this point, and they're like, gosh, you know what, I did really need tracks near me and it's not, I want to back out. Then if you've passed this, they're losing their earnest money and you're starting all over. So again, as much of that information as you can get up front so you can help them find the best house. What do I need to know and do? Again, like what type of communications do I need to have? What type of communications do I need to do? Because you're building a long-term client, right? So the more information you know about them, the better, because you're going to be able to help them and move them forward. And then they're going to recommend you to their friends and family. They're going to be like, gosh, they really listened to me. They really helped me. Yeah, just sit down with them and talk to them. Yeah, yeah. Or if it's somebody, you absolutely could if you wanted to. Sometimes if maybe they're from out of state or something, it's a great way to just sit down and kind of find out some more about them and what life looks like and stuff.
Yeah, I've been thinking how
Yeah,
kind of been more
to do it. Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, some people maybe you don't really connect with. You're like, I just want to be done right now. Yeah, it might be kind of one of a thing or something. Yeah. Yeah, something. Yes. Yeah, or be aware also, like if it's a married couple and you're just with one spouse and take them out to lunch, that could go wrong, or it could be construed wrong or something and stuff. So just be aware of stuff like that too, that, yeah. But you definitely can if you want or whatnot and stuff. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And that's the fun part too, is, finding out different things and stuff. I know a lot of people, when they go under contract, like to send their buyers, like they'll send them like chips and salsa to their office, or cookies to their office, or whatever, hey, congratulations, you're under contract. We're excited to move forward and stuff. So it's just one of those touch points that they're like, that's really cool. And then of course, everybody in the office is like, why'd you get cookies? They're like, oh, we're buying a house. My agent sent them to me, just kind of build up those special moments that, and that's totally up to you. Everybody's individual, you know, maybe you might want to, maybe you don't want to. But that's one of those touch points too. And then prepping them for every step. Hey, we're under contract. The first thing that's going to happen as a buyer, we're going to collect your earnest money, and then we're going to receive seller's disclosures. As soon as I get those seller's disclosures, I'm going to send them to you to review. I'm also going to send the contract to your lender. They're going to get started on your loan. They're going to be contacting you for additional information they need. So prep them for what's coming, you know, and then let them know, hey, I got a hold of your lender. They should be calling you, you know, by the end of day today. So just communication and letting them know, because they're going to be nervous. Even if they've bought a house before, it was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 7 years ago, and they're not going to remember the steps. So let them know, hey, here's our step. After you review this, be like, hey, did you review your list of inspectors? Have you picked? We need to have it be done. Don't wait for day 13 if you have a 14-day deadline, right? You want to start right away, because it might take the inspector a week to get in. And then
Time for other people to come look at whatever the inspector has.
yes, yeah, to jump and run, right? To get out there. So if you schedule your inspection, like Chris said, if your inspector gets out there on day 5 and you have 14 days and the roof is bad and you want to get bids, maybe the seller's agent's like, yeah, we knew the roof is bad, we'll pay for it, but get us some bids. And you have to get 3 people out there to get bids, and you only have 6 days left, right? Then you don't want to wait to do your inspections. Get those done right away, because if you do need to negotiate something, you need time to do that. You need time to get it wrote. You need time for the seller to think about it. You need time for the seller to respond, and you don't want to wait for the day before. If you wait for the day before, you're going to be forced, like, hey, we either need to back out, we need to extend, but if they won't extend, you know, so then don't wait on those. We already kind of covered what does the rest of the team look like, inspectors, lenders, all of that fun stuff. What am I doing at each point to bulletproof the transaction? Making sure you communicate to the selling agent, to your clients, all of the stuff. Like, here's what I did. I'm following up with them. Some of the key points that you're going to remember too is like communicating the deadlines. So Jeanette does this. I always do this. As soon as we go under contract, I send them out a letter, you know, congratulations, we're under contract. Here's our deadlines. And then remind them, because you've talked about your deadlines in your initial meeting with them, right? And so you just go over those again. Hey, our due diligence deadline is this. We have to have our inspections done by this day. Our appraisal will be done by this day. And you step through those things. Lender, you're going to communicate with their lender and make sure that they have the documents that they need. Once you do the inspection and your clients are happy to move forward, you let the lender know, hey, we've done inspections, they're happy, go ahead and order the appraisal. And then they're going to order the appraisal at that point. So usually they wait till the inspection is over, just so they don't spend money prior to, because if you're in the inspection and there's a cracked trellis or a cracked foundation and they back out and they've already ordered the appraisal, then there's $850 or $650 or whatever it is that somebody's already paid for, and you don't want that. Communicate lists of recommended title companies, inspectors. You've already done that. Scheduling. You've already done that. And you already know at this point too, how they like to be communicated with. Is it email? Is it text? Is it group text? Is it phone calls? Right. So you're just going to communicate all of this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Additional questions. When am I reminding the buyers not to make big purchases? So again, don't go buy a car. Don't go buy furniture. Don't quit your job. I had somebody at closing. We were literally signing paperwork. And he's like, oh, I'm so glad I quit yesterday. Like, now we can move in. And we're like, oh, what? It was a panic moment. It was not good. and the lender was there. So she's like, wait, you can't, because that company actually verifies the day and the day after, So luckily his company, was going to have him review some different stuff. And so they could technically keep him on as a consultant. But at that point, guess what would have happened? That would not have happened. And we were sitting at the closing table. So that wouldn't have happened. So let them transferring, if they're getting a new job, if they're after that date, don't do it before. Don't go buy furniture, right? Don't buy a car. Don't lend money to a family member. Yeah.
So, for this.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
No,
Yes.
These are hard days.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can write an addendum, as a normal market, and they tell the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, yeah. Yeah, no, they're definitely, and that's a good point too, because where everybody is so busy, you want to start right away. Like never wait to get any of these things started, right? Because people do delay. They're like, oh, I haven't checked my email yet. You're like, hey, it's your earnest money. Like, get on the email. I need to sign that, send it back to me. But, and you want to make sure you communicate that. So anything you send, like if you're sending something to the other agent, call them, text them, and email, right? Make sure that they get it. It's not lost somewhere. Yes, please. When you receive something, just say thank you, received, right? It's that easy. Communicate that you're sending and getting and stuff. And then those key moments, let your clients know, right? Hey, I just let the title of the company know this. Hey, I just received an updated preliminary report from the title company. Your clients probably won't even know what that means, but just, I reviewed it, it looks good. And all that stuff. So communicate those things so they know what you're doing and they know what to expect, what's coming next. And always tell them, our next step is, and always let them know that. How do I negotiate the inspection report and when am I communicating this information? So when you call the listing agent, if you have repairs that are needed, don't just call and say, hey, the roof leaks. Right? Have a solution, right? Hey, here's what we're proposing.
How do you feel about sharing?
So she asked if selling the inspection report. Yes. I encourage it. What I do though is I send just the page that we're asking. Like if it's a water heater, right? I send just the water heater page that said it's not up to code or it's leaking or whatever it is. If you send the whole report, an inspector's job is to find things wrong with the house, right? So then the seller gets this big inspection report. They're going to read it and you read through it and there's all these little things and it just makes them mad. Like I've gotten inspection reports on my house and I'm like, what?
It might, on the flip side, there's 49 things on it and yet you're only.
Sometimes, yes. Yeah. If they're not big items, I kind of read through it. And if it's not like a lot of just nitpicky items, then I will. If there's like GFIs or if there's things like that, then sometimes I will send the whole thing because then like you said, the seller knows, oh, they're only asking for these. And I tell the listing agent that, hey, I'm only asking, they're only asking for these items. They're going to take care of all the rest. And then they can see like, oh, okay, yeah, right. It's not a lot they're doing. But if it's a whole bunch of nitpicky items, I send just the page because then they see all the stuff and they get irritated. And I don't want to, you don't want to irritate the seller for no reason. So we just kind of go over those. But I usually send just the page that we're negotiating on. When do I touch base with the lender, company, or listing agent? All along, right? All along. It's going to be a constant person. Documentation, so again, is it just a document that you're receiving? Is it communication touch point, something that you can talk to your clients about? And again, kind of just build that relationship. Again, you're building a long-term person. What's the best pathway for communicating, sending, call, text, email, right? All of it. Are there templates for this that I can use? So is it something that you're constantly sending out that you can do a template for and then send out? So for example, my under contract letter, I send it to everybody. So then I just tweak the name on top and I tweak the contract dates that we're going to be watching, and then I send it out. Actually, my transaction coordinator sends it out, but and then at the end, so more touch points towards settlement. I send them out a letter that says, hey, it's time to start transferring your utilities, right? And then I actually have a list of utility companies. I have on that list, make sure to contact your dentist, your doctor, and a bunch of other random stuff that you usually don't think about. And I send that out prior, because one thing you're going to want to make sure that your buyers do that a lot of them don't do is turn on their utilities. And guess what? The seller turns off their utilities. And then your buyer calls you on Saturday, we're moving in and there's no lights. So you can't get them on until Tuesday or Wednesday at this point, right? Because the company's closed, they don't open until Monday, they won't hook them up, and they're out.
What if like the seller's moving out and it's want that,
Put them,
right?
yes, yeah, you have to tell them. Yes, yeah. I always have, and again, just my personal preference, I always have the buyers turn utilities on their name the day of settlement or before, just to make sure that there's not any delays. And I have had them still forget. You know, I've still had those calls like, hey, we don't have any power. Did you transfer? No. Well, one was even my son, for the record. My son did that. I'm like, what? Yeah.
If you're dealing with a seller, you don't have to turn them. That's one thing that, like, if you turn them off, it's a pain, because then they have to physically come out and turn them back on. So if you
Yeah.
call the, like, Provo City, call them and say, hey, I'm moving on the 17th. After that, I don't. They'll record that. And then when the buyer calls, they can say, hey, I want these turned on in my name this day. And then they just change it. They don't ever turn it off for the house. They just transfer the service over.
Yeah. Yeah, the city. Yeah.
I don't know about a lot of the others.
Yeah, a lot of the cities too, for water, for like water and sewer, they have to take in their settlement statement to show that they're the actual owner. I don't know why somebody would sign up to pay for a bill that's not theirs, but they seem to think that that's the that's the thing. So they'll need that. A lot of times for mailbox keys, you know, the big mailboxes and stuff, they have to go into the post office and get a new key. Sometimes the seller will leave them and stuff. If you have a seller, have them leave a little note, like where the mailbox is, you know, if there's a key, any special information like how to turn the sprinklers off or whatever. It's always nice when they move in to have that type of information. So remind your sellers prior to closing to leave the garage door openers. Extra keys. They usually forget the garage door openers because they're in their cars and they drive off with them. And so remind them to do that. House needs to be broom clean. Your contract deadlines. If they're buying a new house, this is super, super important. If they're buying a new house, they have settlement and closing, so they get their money. If you haven't scheduled out a couple days, they have to be out of their house at closing, right? If they're using those funds to buy their new house, sometimes that takes a couple days. So then your buyers are at their house waiting to move in and your sellers are still there. So you need to make sure that you coordinate your dates, that your sellers have a couple days to move out before the buyers are moving in. And that's one thing, make sure you communicate with your sellers when they have to be out. You have to be out this day, you have to be out this day, you have to be out this day. because they'll, it's one of those they'll forget. And they'll be like, wait, I thought I had a week, and there's a lot of myths in their head. I had a week, or I have 3 days, or I have 4 days. And if you're not conveying when they have to move out, you're going to have a really big problem and not a fun one. Make sure you communicate those are big, big dates. Seller side, we've kind of covered a lot of these. So they're slightly different on the seller's side. So seller's not giving earnest money, right? But you do want to let them know, hey, we did get the buyer's earnest money. They're moving forward, right? Hey, we did send them the due diligence, your seller's disclosures. They had a question about item number 4, and just get their report. The inspector's coming out on this date. Is that okay? Right? The inspector will be there from noon until 4. I always like to have my sellers not be home when the inspector. The inspector will ask him a lot of questions. It sounds like a friendly conversation. Could be good, could be bad. I always like them gone. My personal preference. Sometimes it's good because they can answer if there's something weird or something that the inspector's like, hey, I'm not really sure what this is, what happened. And sometimes it's something simple and not a big deal, and the seller can answer that. But generally, I don't like them there. And definitely, if they are there for the inspection, so some people work from home, they're like, hey, I can't leave. But definitely have them gone when the buyers get there to walk through to go over the report. You don't. That way the buyers can walk through, they can go through with the inspector, find out what's, wrong with the house or what the inspector has seen and stuff without the seller there. You don't want the seller there for that part. Let them know when the appraiser is coming out. So again, they can be there, not there. If they've done a lot of work on the house, so if they bought the house, let's say 4 years ago, and they're getting transferred, but since they bought it, they finished the yard, they put on a new roof, they finished the basement. Ask them if they happen to have any receipts, or let the appraiser know, hey, they did finish the basement since they've been here. They've been in a yard, they had landscape come out, they spent $34,000 on the yard and stuff. It'll just kind of help them determine the value on the appraisal. I haven't. I have heard of a lot of people doing an inspection prior just to fix items. Yeah, just to. I haven't ever, just because each inspector is a little bit different, and the inspections can be kind of pricey. And so, yeah, but it's not a bad idea on some houses, especially, solar, if you guys run into solar. So if a seller has solar, make sure you ask him, there's no value for starters. Ask him if it's paid off. Is it paid off? Do you still owe on it? How much do you owe on it? All of that type of stuff. Because if it's still owed on, the buyer needs to know, because the buyer will be taking on that loan, or the seller needs to pay it off. Backwards. This one? Yeah, with the, the due diligence, yeah, it should be on their seller disclosures form. Yeah, and then definitely by that part, if not. And then the title company should check as well. But if they have solar, make sure. Yeah, I think it does. I know, I'm like, I think it does. They've added so many pages and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it does on there. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm like, they've added it on. Yeah, but you need to know if they have it, if it's getting transferred, if it's paid off, if they're paying it off, all of that type stuff. So kind of what is the first thing my seller needs? As you're listing, you're going to go over what the timelines are going to look like. So they just are prepared for that. What do they need to know and do? Again, during inspections, need to be on. Showings, of course, but you're already past that point. What do I need to know and do? So again, you need to coordinate all those people, who's coming, when they're coming, what time they're coming. Make sure that you get those scheduled. If the sellers have pets, you need to make sure that their pets are taken care of during those like times, inspections, all of that. Do I do like backup or, it depends on the seller. Usually if they have kids and stuff, we just take it off, just go under contract because it's so hard to show, while they're getting it right, and stuff. And, a lot of them want to be that part. If it's vacant, then we'll definitely do backups on it. Or if it's somebody who doesn't mind. So it's very seller specific and stuff on there. Because some of them are just like, are we done showing? I just want to be done showing. I'm tired of people tromping through and stuff like that. So very specific on that one. So one of the things I do, and this isn't part of this class, but if they have little kids, I get a sack and I just put dumb little toys in it, cards, stuff like that. And then I have a whistle and I give it to the mom. And then I assign each kid a task, like age appropriate. So sometimes you get short notice for showings and I just tell the mom, hey, assign the tasks. When you have a showing, and at short notice, blow the whistle. Kids, when you hear the whistle blow, you go do your task, like pick up the shoes, put them by the door, make the beds, put the dog in the crate, whatever your task. Prize from the sack, and then everybody leaves. So, and it's just kind of a fun, the lady is like, oh my gosh, my kids won't quit cleaning. Like that's all they do. They want to prize. So it's just something, like you can do fun stuff like that helps families, or helps the people with whatever they need to do. So you can do all just stuff like that too. So co-op agents, again, stay in communication with them. Like that's a key part to keeping this moving forward. And theirs are kind of the same. Sellers the same. We're to communicate the deadlines, the contract, everybody that, how it's going. I even give updates to the sellers on the loans. Sometimes the buyer lenders will send you as a listing agent notice like, hey, we just got the clear to close, or we're in underwriting now, or we're, here. And it's always nice to be able to call the sellers and say, hey, their loan's in underwriting now. It's in the final process. So then the sellers are like, oh, good. Okay, things are moving forward. So if you don't get those updates from the buyer's lender, you can call the buyer's lender because you have the pre-qualification letter, right? And you've talked to them, or you can talk to them and just be like, hey, I'm just checking on this loan. Where are you at? They don't mind talking to you because they want to try to pick you up as a future agent that works with them, right? So they're going to see you. So you can call and ask like, hey, are you in underwriting? Are you out of underwriting? And then that way you can convey that to your seller and give them peace of mind that they're moving forward still and everything's going good.
They were from out of state. I had their agent out of state.
Paul?
Wanting information. So it was kind of weird.
Yes, yeah, and you will get that. So if you have, and that's just coordinating pieces. And they were buying in the other state, right?
They were selling.
Oh, okay. Oh. Agent.
Yeah.
Did they refer them to you?
We're here out.
Partners.
But it was just a good conversation.
Yeah.
I want to know how are they doing for it?
That's a little weird. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Yes, weird things happen. You'll get a lot of weird phone calls. It is common if you're selling a house here and they're buying a house in another state. It is common that that agent, hopefully, I've had a couple that the agents never did, which I find really odd, will call to check on the progress because they have to close this house to buy that house and they're representing them on that end. So they'll call and find out, hey, how is the transaction going, right? Yeah, that is kind of weird. Like, so they can do that. So you'll get some of those. Always have to, a lot of times your sellers are going to ask you, hey, our deadline is the end of the month. We're closing on the 24th. Should I make my payment, my next house payment? Or, hey, we're closing on the 6th of the month. Should I make that payment? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. If they choose not to, that's their decision, but always have them, because sometimes this happens, right? They don't make it. You're here, something happens. Here, somebody might lose a job. So if your buyer loses a job or they get transferred, I've had buyers get transferred and they're like, hey, we're canceling the contract. Oh, all right. So if your seller at that point hasn't made their house payment and you've told them not to, then they might get a late payment, might get late on their credit. So the answer is always yes. Make your house payment, make your house payment, make your house payment. They'll get a refund after closing. So they'll get that money back, right, after closing. So, but always have them make their payment.
How many transactions?
I don't know. I've had pretty good luck, like not a lot, but some, like stuff has happened. Usually inspections is usually where it goes awry. Because there's something, or they get really nervous, or they get scared, or something like that. It's usually inspections when that happens, and stuff. But usually, if you can get it to that point and moving forward, like the rest, and everything is solvable, right? Any problem that pops up is solvable. You just need to be creative, and you need to communicate with everybody and stuff. But you can figure out any problems. It's scary. It can be super fun part of everybody, right? You have everybody. And so, like some of the stories, you'll hear, you'll run across, it'll be like, what? And you'll find somebody who has a crazier story. It's the funny part, if you're like, oh my gosh, what happened on this closing, or what happened on this thing? And you'll find somebody that has an even crazier story. And so, but they'll help you through it, right? They're like, hey, try this, or you can do this, or you can negotiate this, or so you have people here in the office that have done, a lot of transactions and stuff and can help you every step of the way. Again, the coach, in fact, Cameron's here today. Cameron, if you want to say hi. Yeah, so, Angie still, Jeanette, Dean, that's why we're here. And we'll love to hear your stories, right? Like some of them are fun. So, but yeah, so you're gonna have, I even had one, I was representing the buyer and the inspector called me. He was there doing inspections and he's like, hey, I just had to call you before your buyers get here. It's so weird. The sellers want me to find problems and they're trying to get me to make up problems. The sellers are telling you this. And he's like, yeah. And what it boiled down to is their agent was not helping them find their next home. And so they didn't know where they were going. And they were panicking because they didn't have a place to go. I did. I'm like, what's wrong with you, right? So I actually ended up helping the seller find a place to move to so we could still move forward, right? Because they're like, no, we're not selling. We're not selling. And it's like, well, you are selling. You have to sell stuff. But it was a weird, just a super weird thing. And he just wasn't helping them. I'm like, what? Help them. Yeah, it was under contract what we were doing. But the inspector called me and he was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever run across, but you need to know before you get here, right? This is happening. And so like, oh, that was different. But they didn't know where they were going, right? So they were afraid and they wanted just to stop everything. But
Was it
mine, mine is super weird in that. So majority, most of you, and most agents, and this is why they put things so hard. You get a listing, you have a buyer, right? Most everybody sells and buys a property. That's happened to me maybe 10 times in my 18 years. I am like such an anomaly in that factor. Like a lot of mine are investors that are selling a property so they don't have to buy something, or they're selling and they're moving out of state, or so I haven't had a lot of people who like sell and buy, but the majority of people do. And so I know every time it happens, I'm like, how do I do my deadlines again? Like, what? How do I do this? Because it's just a weird thing. Everybody else has, you get a seller, you get a buyer and stuff. So most of the transactions are that way and stuff. But mine, for whatever reason, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but it's my thing. So I think 10 times in 18 years. Yeah, it doesn't, literally, it doesn't. I have buyers or I have sellers, but very, very rarely do I have both. And when it happens, I really do. I have to think through how to structure my deadlines because it doesn't happen very often. It's really, really weird. It's a weird thing. So, are you serious? Yeah, I think that's most agents. Like most people are, you get a seller, you get a buyer. And that's the beauty of getting listings is you get both at the same time. So, but mine's just been for whatever reason, just a weird, they move out of state, or it's an investment property, or it's an inherited property, somebody passed away, and just a weird. Get gypped. No, I'm just kidding. I get ripped off. Let's see, documentation, the best pathway, again, just communicate, right? And let them know what they can expect, sellers, as they're moving, because like that one, they didn't know, and it almost blew up the whole thing. So, and our job is to get it from start to finish. Again, any templates. All of your stuff, again, is a communication or a document. Most of the time, everything you get, you're going to be able to communicate to your seller, to your buyer, this is what's happening now. And so they know. To who and from is it going? What's the best pathway? Send it, call, text. Make sure you do all. Make sure you know that they got it, that they received it. Especially with deadlines, you're going to make sure they get it and that they communicate that they received it. Follow up, templates. And I'm like, am I going backwards, forwards? Command. So in command, we can jump on this. I think we're kind of running out of time, but you can put in your opportunity channel, which is this one right there. You actually are going to put, and Jeanette does this for you now as your transaction coordinator, but puts it into command. If you have a buyer, if you have a seller, what stage they're in, if you're just kind of talking to them, if it's a buyer, if they're a warm lead, now they're a hot lead, we're actually looking at houses, now we're under contract, now we're past our due diligence, and you can actually move it through the pipeline. It's really fun to watch it move. You can assign yourself tasks, so every transaction is going to have a lot of the same steps, right? All of these steps. You're gonna have earnest money. Did I get my earnest money? And there's steps. You can check the box. Did I send them congratulations donuts? Yes, I did that. Did I send them, it's time to transfer your utilities? Yes, I did that. And you can actually build out your checklist of what to do. And so you can do all of that. And again, Jeanette does all of this. It goes into command. You can follow it. Super, super cool. Ahas, thoughts, surprises. Yeah. Uh-huh. Good question, yeah. So if you didn't hear, she was asking if you prep your buyers for their down payment money, like being in their account or being transferred or being like a gift letter or something. I talked to them a little bit upfront about that, like purchasing if somebody's like, hey, I want to buy a house. I talked to them about, great, you know, do you have money for inspections? Do you have money for this money? The down payment and stuff, I usually let the lender talk to them about that because they know the different loan programs. But I do prep them. I'm like, the lender's going to talk to you. They're going to get the best loan for you. You're going to, you know, go over everything with them. They'll let you know what your down payment is. And then I always check with the lender to find out what loan type are we doing, what type of down payment are we looking at, and all of that. So then when I write the offer, I have that information that I need. But I usually let the lender go over all of that stuff because. Paper trail, yes.
Where I transfer, so
Yes,
stocks and
yes, yeah, yeah.
it was frustrating. But that
In, yes, yeah. And that's another reason to have everybody pre-qualified. So all of that stuff is done up front. And then that way there's not, again, surprises, right? If you're under contract and then you find out from the lender, hey, they don't have a paper trail and their gift money, or suddenly there's $10,000 cash deposited in their checking account, you're not going to be able to qualify and you're going to get bumped out and you're no longer going to be under contract. So make sure that they're pre-qualified, make sure all of those steps are taken care of, or you won't get closed. You'll be out.
Well, you want to have them qualified also because you don't want to put what the budget is. You don't want to be showing
Yeah.
them houses that are $50,000 over their budget straight out of that. And then
Yes.
you're just not gonna be-
Yes, yeah. We talked about this. It was funny. Yeah, because.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know. We've all done it. Everybody's done it.
Nephew wants to buy a place. I'm like, well, go get pre-qualified. Because what are you going to be able to afford? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you want to look at 500,000 and then find out that you're approved for 3? Or you
Yeah.
want to look at 300,000 and find out you're approved for 450?
Yes.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah, because 500,000 is different. You go look at 300,000 after looking at 500,000, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But you can
Do
go
want
up.
Valley or do you want the Lee High? What do you want to do?
Yes, yeah, big difference.
This is probably outside.
This-
But in just when
Yeah,
and some, well, most of the time they find one that's even cheaper than the ones that I do.
yes, yeah.
And it makes you feel stupid.
They're all different. They're all different. And each one kind of specializes in different things. So I like to kind of find those specialty ones. So I have one that's amazing with like VA loans and that type of product. And then I have one that's amazing with investment properties, like knows investment properties and bankruptcy type stuff, like the back of his hand. And so, and then I have one that does FHA and that type stuff. Yeah, don't be offended if they don't choose your lender. Yep. Yes.
The answer is shop
Yeah,
around.
shop around. Yeah, and you can give them your favorites, you know, and let them know why they're your favorites.
Well, now
But
their
then-
favorites
Is it? See, that happens. That's how I probably got my favorite.
You're
Yeah.
not one that it's amazing that I've never even heard of. Well, they found it and shared it with me.
Yeah,
They are offering a 5-year free refinance.
I've heard of those. Yeah, yeah,
That's huge.
that's huge, especially with this market, right? And this pricing. That's a big, yeah, yeah. So don't be, Yeah, don't be offended if they don't use your lender, but give them three. And like I said, I have different ones and I let them know, hey, if you're looking at this one's really good. This one's really good. This one's really good.
You
This.
start a 3-week text at that moment, but then the lender say, hey, I'd like to introduce my clients, blah, 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 and then
Yes, you can do that. I usually call the lender and then I give them the phone number and I give them their situation. Because I'm weird like that too. I want my lender to call and have a conversation over the phone because I want them to hear the buyer's story. Because in hearing the buyer's story, you might hear something, a loan product that will work better, or if they just apply online, they're not going to get that, or they might online, if they apply, they might not qualify. But if the lender actually talks to them and hears the situation, he's like, oh, if we do this, this, and this, you do qualify. Or if we can get this documentation, then you do qualify. So I'm weird like that. And all my lenders know that if I call them with somebody, they have to have a one-on-one conversation with them. And I always want them at closing too. And that's, again, just my personal preference, because questions come up about the loan and I don't know the answers, right? The lender knows the answers and the lender can give them the answers right there. Or if something's wrong and at closing there has been things that have been not right on the closing doc, that they've had to call and just verify or check or change or reprint, and they're there to do it. So that's another one of if you want to work with me, you have to show up at closing and you have to have a one-on-one phone call. So that's but everybody's different, right? Some of them are like, we don't want to work with Suzie. She's a pain. But like, whatever, right? Yes. I think high maintenance is probably a term, right? Let's see. Oh, just stuff that we covered, right? Best practices. Communicate. Where might it fall apart? Fiduciary duties, right? Always act in their best interest. If you know something, let them know. If they want to back out, you represent them, right? Help them back out. Make sure you hit your timelines. Referrals. So as you're working on stuff, again, communicate because you're building that pipeline, right? You're building future clients. You want them to share your name in a good way, not in like, you will not believe what I ran into. So if you want to share your name in a good way, I still have clients that I started with 18 years ago, right? And it's so fun to see their life changes and what's happened in their life and all of that. So you want those referrals and don't be afraid to be like, hey, if you run into somebody else that's looking, I would love to help your friends and family. Right? I would love to help those people at closing. You're like, hey, you just put me out of a job. We just closed. Who do you know that needs my help? Right? Like, don't be afraid to ask them. And always ask them too. And this is probably one of the hardest questions to ask, but what could I do to improve? Right? Which is so important because you can get better. They want to help you get better, right? But it's a hard one sometimes to hear. Sometimes you don't always want to hear that, well, if you would have called me more often or something. Everybody's different too. Some are more high maintenance, some are more low maintenance. So you have to take that into account when you get your feedback, but let them know, hey, I would like to know what I can improve if there's anything that you see, because I want to be able to help your friends and family. I want to be able to help more people. Do you have any things? And sometimes maybe it's something that you hadn't thought about that's big that then you can add, because if they're a first-time home buyer and they're like, oh, I wish I would have known this. Oh, that is something good. I can add that. So then my next first-time home buyers get that better service and they get that notification up front, which is a win, right? So always ask. That's, again, kind of a hard one. I want to get to the closing. So again, just referrals. You can get client reviews, all of that fun stuff. Post-close. So important. Post-close is one of the most important things you can do for longevity, keeping your clients and getting future referrals. So this whole time you've been working with them, you've been looking, you've got under contract, you're closing. If they close and then you just disappear and you never call them again, do you think they feel like just a transaction.
Yep.
They were just a money source, right? At that point, that's the way they're going to feel. So it's so important to follow up with them and ask. Like, again, sometimes it's hard 2 days. So I always call 2 days after, hey, are you guys moving in? How are things going? And it's always hard because every single time they're going to be like, well, we can't find this, and there's no garage door openers, and and you're going to have to do more work. And you're gonna be like, at this point, you're like, "Ooh, I'm done, and I did a great job, and everything's smooth." And there's gonna be something, or this, the faucet leaks, or there's gonna be something, right? But again, that's where you step up and you help them solve that problem. So you take care of it. Again, my personal thing, I call 2 days. I call a week after. Hey, you're settling in. Do you need anything? And sometimes they might like, hey, we need a plumber. Hey, we need they might need a resource. So give them that resource. And then I call 2 weeks after that. And then I call a month after that. And then I just put them on my regular quarterly calls from there. So, but make sure that you do your post-close, or they're going to feel like they were just a transaction and just a money source for you. And you don't want that. You don't want that. Yes, yeah. Oh, the repairs, yeah, yeah. So if you have anything like that, yeah, yes, yes, yeah. So any of that, that they need to finish up after, because they might just need contacts. One of my favorite things that I did for the longest time, that I highly recommend, is doing a welcome party for them. So when we closed, I would get all of their friends and families names. I'd give them about a month to get moved in, and I just tell them, hey, I want to host a welcome home party for you. I'm going to send out the invitations. I'm going to bring the food, and we're going to have a little party. I'm going to do a drawing. So all of their friends that came in filled out a little sheet. Are you thinking of buying? Are you thinking, that type of stuff? And then we do drawing and giveaway. I would stay for about an hour, and then I'm like, hey, I'm out. See you guys. Have a great time, and leave. Every single party I got a referral from. Every single party. So, and they're fun to do, right? They're fun because everybody's happy, everybody's excited. The only reason I stopped doing it is I was having so many, and everybody wanted to have it on a weekend. And I'm like, I want my weekends back. So then, hey, I'll do it on a Wednesday or Thursday. Of course, nobody wants a housewarming party on a Wednesday or Thursday. But I had 4 places that would cater food. And I just like, hey, do you want tacos? Do you want sandwiches? Do you want, and I just let them pick what they wanted. I would bring like soda, and then if they had other additives for sodas, that was up to them. But I just brought soda and food, and then a little giveaway item, and did that and stuff. So, but they loved it, right? They loved it and stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, it was and it was a fun, something for them to look forward, something they didn't have to plan, and all of that. So, yeah, that was the closing gift. It's like, hey, I want to host this party for you, and then just had a little party for them and stuff. So, your post close is as important as everything that you do in between. So, and then your quarterly calls after that. Get them set up on the neighborhood nurture, so they can start watching values in their neighborhood. If you don't know what that is, we have a class on it. Cameron can tell you what that is. Hunter can tell you what that is. We can get you on that. We have a class on that. Fantastic thing to put everybody on, and a fantastic thing to put people on to get them in their database. So what it is, it's in command. You put their name, you put their address in it, and every month it sends them what's selling in their neighborhood. So they get that information. People love to see it. It's automatic. And you can get all of their friends and family. Like, hey, do you have friends or family that would like to know what's selling in their neighborhood? I can put them on at the same time. And then you put them on and they get it. And your branding's on it too all the time. So yes, their year anniversary. So when they have their anniversary month, so they're closing, send them a card, send them donuts, send them cookies, drop off a little, hey, happy house anniversary For my clients that have been in their house for a while, we put together, what happened in 2015. And it's, bread was this much, gas was this much, this was the president, and you bought your home, right? That's kind of a fun little thing and stuff. So do the follow-up. The follow-up things are as fun and as important as all your others. So the year. So the year that they close. Yeah. Yep. The year that they close. I know. Monthly. You have to still contact them. Yeah, it is quarterly. So any other questions? I think that's all of our stuff.
Daily success.
Backwards. Oh, yeah. So I think there's also drip campaigns, of course, in command, right, to follow up with people. Co-agent, we'll cover this really quick. So the agents that you're working with on the other side, again, at the very beginning, you're going to be talking to them. Talk to them throughout the process, right? It's going to help through the process. After the process, if let's say they have another listing and you have a buyer and you put an offer in, they're going to remember you, right? So hopefully it was a great transaction. And then I've had ones that we've got multiple offers and you see a particular agent on there and they were good. You're like, hey, I know this is going to be a great transaction because we've had, transactions before. So it helps. Also, invite them to classes, right? We have classes. Maybe they're a new agent too, right? And if they're a new agent too, like, hey, we have classes. Is your brokerage supporting you? Do you want to come to a class? We have wealth building. We have a great way to build your downline too. So if it's somebody who's like, I don't really love where I'm at. Like, oh my gosh, I love where I'm at. Here's why. You can give the name to me. You can give the name to Shoni. We're happy to call them and talk to them and stuff and see about getting them over. Also, after every closing, I actually contact them if they're in Utah County, and we give them a book. So like the MREA or the investment book or something. So I call and reach out to all of those agents that you have closings with and give them a little present, a little book and stuff, and see how everything went. But invite them to stuff, right? If you have something good that can help them become a better agent, it makes all of our transactions go better and smoother by sharing that. So, and then I think that's it. Thoughts? Surprising facts?
I think that kind of still out there.
Oh, no. Okay. Make it a little.
Closing dates are probably some of
Yes.
my
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And then always remind them. Yes, people are here to help you. And seriously, anything you run into along those lines, like, let us know, right? That's why we're here. And ask. Like, every single one of us was brand new Monday. Every single one of us. So all of the crazy transactions we've had and all of the stuff that's happened, like, that's all learning, right? We get to learn with everything. So
Yeah, yesterday I was for training that I needed to take several hours. But yeah, everything, like, it was about the law and about ethics.
Yeah.
So some of the cases and some of the comments are like really scary. Like,
yeah.
like you as an agent are not really loved. And I'm like in the people mind, general public
Yes.
classification, you are not one of the favorite professionals.
Yes.
And you're like, oh no, I decided to come today because I feel really good here.
Yeah.
I mean, they are nice and that was true. And it's about like doing what you're supposed to do. and you drive and you want to keep a relationship with other agents, with your public or with your clients. And
Yeah.
so build that in an environment that you like and how you want to be seen. It's a great place for that.
Yes.
Because it seems like out there for me, it's like, everybody's depending on each other.
Not everybody is nice. That's so true. Yeah.
Everybody has that.
Yes. Yeah. And it could just be somebody's bad day, right? They might have just had things.
Their contract just fell through and it was because of this said something about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to be careful because that people don't go. Usually we don't go and say, hey, this was fantastic. But we sometimes do, right?
Yeah.
But when something goes wrong, even if it's a little thing, like people tend to.
Everybody hears. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When something goes wrong, everyone hears about it, right? Yeah. And sometimes that is your fault, right? Like sometimes you have to own it. Right? It's just like, oh, yeah, I did do that. Yep. Yeah. It's
I like the communication part. You cannot over-communicate.
no.
Really.
Yeah. You cannot. Yeah. You can't over communicate.
Every day during
Oh.
that process.
Oh my gosh.
Every day. I mean, it was a joke.
Yeah. Hello. Yep. We're still moving forward. We're still, yeah. Yeah. You can't over communicate. That's right. That's right. Yeah. But just take care of them as you would, your family. Or if, somebody was helping your grandma, how would you want them to help? Right? How would you want them to help them and stuff? And how would you want them to take care of them? So take care of them that way and stuff. And again, the agent on the other side, hopefully, is your friend. And it will move, their goal is to get it moved forward too. So some are nicer than others, some are better than others. Some you'll learn stuff from, like, oh gosh, I really like the way they did that. Or I really like the way they communicated that. Or you'll learn opposite too, like, they're terrible. I don't want to be like that, right? So you learn goods and bads all the way along the process. It's just about learning. Every day you learn something new. Every single day you just learn new stuff. So I'm still learning stuff. So, and it's been a while. Yeah. Yeah. Little things. Yeah. Little things. Yep. It's all that. And then you learn to, like that we talked, you'll have some really clients who are, you just need to really handhold, right? And others that are just easier. And you're going to get everything in between, and you're going to get better at each one, like how to handle each one. You're going to get better and better. You're going to have couples fight right in front of you, and that's fun. So there's like, yeah, you're going to run across all kinds of stuff and it's just learning, right? So, and that's why we're all here. And that's, everybody can help everybody. And you guys run into any questions, just ask anybody here and stuff. So yeah, and good luck. It's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it. It's a great thing. And I'm not sure, Cameron, do you go over all the next stuff with them, or I'll come down? Who does your next stuff? It just ends? Okay. I know because. Thank you. I know this part, there was something, and it's like the next 2 hours, have them do. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, this is like we're done at 11. That's good. Okay, good. That too. Yeah, start calling, huh? It's like a whole next class of some sort. I'm like, yes.
When I asked about sharing, I did on gospel material. It's a nice big that it's every single item.
Wow.
The red, yellow.
Oh my gosh, that's
I know.
awesome.
It's not going to happen again.
That's awesome.
But it's like really rare. And
Yeah.
she's an agent.
Oh, nice.
It helped me see how I would want, I don't know.
Be,
it's
yeah.
just awesome.
See, that's what
So I learned a lot from
yeah, I think that's the part I love too, is you learn ways to be better, from other agents or people. And sometimes it's them being not great. And you learn, oh, I don't want to be that way. But then you run across people like that who are just amazing. I had one, I represented the buyer, and the selling agent like screwed up so bad, so bad. And so he called me and he's like, hey, I really messed up this and this. And it was like, oh my gosh, like it was a big thing. And he's like, you can yell, just let me just yell. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to help, right? Why? I'm like, where do we go from here? Like, what's our next step? What do we need to do to address this? Because it doesn't help, right? It's not. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't. Ah. But you just move. It's like, hey, where do we go from here? What do we need to do to fix this? And then you just fix it and move forward. So, and some of the stuff like communicate with your clients. Not everything you don't have to like that. I didn't call my clients and be like, you know what that agent did? Because that's going to cause problems, right? Like that stuff you keep to yourself. You just keep that to yourself. They don't need to know that happened. You just fix it and move forward. We're moving forward. Here's where we're at. Here's your next steps. Here's our next steps, and get them ready.
I like
So,
that.
yeah. Yeah. Yep. There's,
They cost a little money, right?
yeah,
Time.
a little more time, a little more, a little more things. So, and like I said, if you call to negotiate something, again, let them know, hey, here's what we propose. Don't just call with a problem, call with a solution, or call with a couple solutions. Hey, we're thinking maybe this, or this. What are your thoughts? Will you talk to your client, or do you have another recommendation? We're open to, solutions and figuring this out. But don't just call with like, oh, that's, and leave, like have a solution or two in mind when you call, and then figure it out. So, nice. Be nice, people. Cameron, you wanna?
Well, I wanted to come up here